Welcome to part two. I'm just waiting for Julian to click on the link. So he should be clicking on in a minute. My might look at probably be an hour. So Big Dosser got beat, and I'm glad. All right, all you people that are watching, you'd love to say what I say on here, wouldn't you? Most of you. So it is. I'm an Usyk fan, aren't I? Joshua got home safe to his family with 70 million, so he'd be happy, won't he? You know what I mean? Do I feel sorry for him? No, I don't. All right. Biggest fraud in boxing. Biggest fraud in boxing. Manufactured. That's the bottom line. I don't know where Julian is here. He's left me hanging, hasn't he? Oh, I've enjoyed your videos today. You've had a double bubble from Rico. We've got a double bubble here from Julian. And we'll see if we can go for an hat-trick later. See if I can see what I've got left in my wardrobe to stick on, because I've got biggest washing basket you've ever seen in your life. Top upstairs like that. I keep walking by it and I'm going like that. Oh, what am I doing here? Looking at the size of that washing basket, but yeah. So I see him fighting somebody who's a dosser next, like Zhang, Dylan White, Chisora. Dylan White and Chisora have had it, haven't they? Zhang's spotty, innit? He will be if he fights Joshua next. Have a look. What is? Yeah, I sent you it, mate. I've sent you a link. Oh. Here we are, part two with Julian. Yeah, you were saying, Julian.
Yeah, just talk about Dave Caldwell. You know, I know Dave, or I know him ish, and I've said over the years, when people call it right and people are neutral, people think you're just haters and you're just here to antagonize people. You've got to say good job. Like with Jordan Gill, we talked about Dave's brilliant tactics last time out. He's not brown nosing. Call it out. If coaches get it wrong, they get ripped to bits. With Jordan Gill, it was fantastic, getting him to wait in that corner. And Dave last night was brilliant. He brought something else to the fight that was good for viewers to look at. And there's analysis to break things down, to break the first fight down. And I thought Sky were really good last night. And if the next Sky show we watch is absolutely dreadful, we'll say that as well. We'll just say, listen, I pay my Sky subscription. It's nothing to do with having access to grind. I'm allowed an opinion like everybody else. As a consumer, I'm allowed an opinion. Last night, 27 quid. I felt I get my money's worth.
Yeah, I thought it was good value. I thought of the show as a whole, all right. I like that Ramler alley. The Badou Jack fight were all right. I thought Badou Jack lost, and there were a 4-minute round in it, wasn't there?
Yeah, I thought Jack lost that.
Popeye won it, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what he was waiting for. It was like 4 or 5 rounds down, and it was still.
Why were it a 4-minute round though? Why did that come out?
I mean, is it bad officiating? Is it just because they see something in the round where the guy that wants to win is getting on top? I don't know. I mean, we saw the 4-minute round with Greg Page and Jerry Coetzee, didn't we? And that was a round. Coetzee.
What did you think to the Joshua ending? Because people are saying that it were 2 minutes 51 seconds the last round when the bell went.
I've definitely not timed it. I've not timed it.
Well, people need to check. I haven't checked that, but people are saying that the fight ended before 3 minutes. And also, there were another couple of rounds where the bell had gone. They still fought. A couple of rounds back, they fought after the bell, didn't they? And I don't think the referee heard it. Or so the setup as what you'd expect from ring canvas to a couple of things. No. Really. I thought referee were weak on the not warning for low blows, because he went downstairs a couple of times, didn't he, Joshua?
He did.
And he didn't get a warning for that. I thought the referee might have been helping Joshua with that. I don't know, but it all looked to me like it were all designed to lift Usyk's leg, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think in terms of the Joshua low blows, I will say I don't think any of them were intentional. I think it was just clearly he was looking to throw that looping right hook to the
But
body.
like one of them, a bolo job.
Yeah, it was looping it in. You get it under the elbows.
Looping.
Yeah, you loop it because you get it under the elbows. I mean, in an ideal world, you do the distraction. So you'll touch the eyes and then you loop it. Or against a southpaw, the preference is you step off to the left and then you loop it that way. So you find a gap what's quite hard to find against an orthodox.
So that's obviously why they move the red from side to side, because when Usyk does, if that's your face there, he does a lot of that, doesn't he? Or that kind of thing, doesn't he? And it seems to must blind him. Do you think?
Well, this is again what Caldwell was talking about when he explained in layman's terms what the centre line was, boxing on the line, and
well, that was good actually. That breakdown, what they did there, I thought obviously they practiced it. They know what to say.
Yeah, of course, but they know the stuff. But yeah, it's about creating that centre line, and the challenges that a southpaw gives you are completely different. But again, back to this, I hated Joshua's guard. How he held his hands. I thought it was really amateurish. It was a fight that I will probably dissect it 2 or 3 times. I'll watch it 2 or 3 times this week. That'll be it then. That'll be done. And I might see different things, but ultimately what we saw was a performance probably as dominant as the last time, but different to the last fight. It was a little bit more of a physical confrontation, but again, I had it 117, 111. That was my scorecard. But
what's that, 9-3?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with anybody who had it 8-4. But
Would you argue with people who had it 10-2?
No, I think that's a fair result as well, because again, back to the point I made in the first link, it's these body shots. The perception is, when this sounds patronizing when I say the untrained eye, but when you have an untrained eye, I'm talking about just your casual fans or people in that audience, and you see those body shots whipped in, what you see is a big shot and you hear a thud. What people aren't understanding is a lot of that thud and that smack is from catching it on the elbows. Yeah. And Usyk, there was some highlights later on in the fight where there was particularly one where Joshua just rushed with wild abandon. Usyk landed 3 shots. Joshua threw about 15 shots and didn't land any. And that for me was, when you're watching that in real time, in real speed, it looks like competitive. It looks like the competitive exchanges. But when you slow it down, you see the quality of Usyk, and you see that actually he's just sliding away from that shot. That was orthodox, sorry. He's just sliding away from that left hook ever so slightly. He's riding the shot. He's blocking the left hook to the body. He's blocking the right uppercut to the body. And those are the subtleties. Now, this is where I'm coming from. This is where the judges should see this, and they should understand this. And thankfully, 2 of the judges did understand this. But this is where the likes of the Gad is just getting carried away, because he's hearing the oohs and the ahs and he's seeing the big shots. And in his mind, what's manifesting itself in the ring is not translating to his brain.
Does he have it level after 10 rounds, the Gad?
Yeah. So I'm surprised at Steve Bunce. I mean, Steve
5
Bunce,
rounds each, the Gad after 10 rounds. And Bunce had it 7-3 after 10 to Joshua, and Usyk won them last 2 to lose 7-5 on Steve Bunce's card. Steve Bunce, that card is a disgrace. I understand why you've said that, because you want to keep Joshua relevant and you want the Tyson Fury Joshua fight. You don't want to be saying Joshua got mullered, but Steve, why don't you just tell the truth? Don't be having Usyk 7-3 down after 10 rounds, Steve Bunce.
Steve knows boxing. Steve was an amateur boxer. He's been around the game all his life.
Upset me. I had to take Bunce's pitch off my wall, man. I had to take him down, man. He's out at circle.
The one thing I'll say, Steve Bunce, I hope he reviews that and he watches it again. And, I'd like to think that if he did get it wrong, he'll go back. A little bit like there was some people retreated with the Usyk-Chisora fight, didn't they, afterwards? I'd like to think Bunce will watch that and say, you know what? Because listen, we all get it wrong, don't we? I've had some absolute howlers. I remember as a young lad, I thought Larry Holmes were going to beat Mike Tyson. It was just my Larry Holmes goggles. It was like crackers. I look back and I'm like, how did I was 17, 18, but like, how did I call that? And I've made some howlers over the years, and I've scored fights, and then I've looked back and thought, No, I'll have to watch that one again. But again, judges only have one opportunity to score the fight, don't they? But for me, Steve Bunce and Gareth A. Davis, I think you're reporting on a narrative there. That's exactly what you're doing, and you're reporting on what people want to hear.
Now, what their bosses want to hear.
I wonder how, though. I wonder how, Matthew Macklin and Adam Smith and Johnny Nelson would have scored that fight if we'd have gone back 5 years ago and things were as they were and everybody was in bed with each other. I wonder how they'd have scored that fight.
They'd have scored that Joshua win, wouldn't they? And said it could have gone either way and we want a rematch.
And Johnny Nelson...
rematch room.
Johnny Nelson had it 9-3, didn't he? He said about 9-3, 8-4.
He'd have had it the other way around, wouldn't it? Because they all... Listen, what are this shower going to do? They can't go in the real world like me and you. They can't go in the real world like me. They failed in the real world. So the Poncer living in boxing. Poncers, lot on you.
This is what I said to him. We always chat offline, and I said the same thing. There's something so refreshing and invigorating about having the freedom to be yourself, like you. No one pays your bills, right? Okay.
Listen, I'm not going to say you. I've worked with some people. Some people who've had notes, some people who've mint them. I had cars given me. Been spoilt rotten and I've gone, F off. Don't like you no more. Yeah. More than one occasion. I'm my own man, I always have been. After I'm like, Drake bollock there. You've got to be your own man. It's like you said to me. You've got to have that man in the mirror moment.
Yeah. Am I my own man?
And I had that many times in jail. I'd look in the mirror. It's all you can do, isn't it, in your cell? I think, what am I doing here? I obviously didn't kick in then. And you get older, it tends to reason with. When you're younger, you think you're a young bull. You think you could take anything, or I can take the world on when I was 25. Solitary confinement. I've got 4 books under my bed here. I can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, what about when your books have gone? What are you going to do then? Climb wall or read them again? You know what I mean? The penny will drop. Man in the mirror moment. And these people in boxing, they need to have a man in the mirror moment. They mind all that. Well, do they know boxing? I've seen Johnny Nelson patronising boxing, but I know boxing and all that. Johnny, stop coming out with controversial comments and just speak the truth. Stop trying to be a company man.
The one thing that always frustrates me is people turn around and say, you wouldn't say that to the face, though, would you? I would say to Anthony Joshua's face, what's he going to do? Pull my arms off. I'd say to Joshua, I thought he got well beat. Okay. I used to say, I've said to fighters who, over the years, who I've trained, and dozens of them, when they've lost on amateur shows, they said, I got robbed. And I've just said, no, you got beat there, son. You got well beat. Don't worry about it. We'll come back stronger. And people used to look at you like, wow. And I think people prefer honesty.
Yeah.
Ultimate honesty. And as I've said before, when I was in boxing and I got offered certain fights for certain fighters, and people say, we've been offered 25 grand, you know. You'd be like, so what?
Well, that's not to you, is it?
But 10% of that to be divided up by a load of people, minus driving my bloody Subaru Impreza to Manchester twice a week. It wasn't the money.
Why do you always pick them cars about 10 to gallon?
I don't know. We used to go to Steve Malick's gym all the time, and all these gyms in Manchester, and I would drive in the bloody Scooby, and I'd be like, I've put 2 full tanks in, those cars. I've put 2 full tanks in this week. Bloody hell, Sykes. And I used to sometimes take the 10% just to pay for some of my petrol. It was ridiculous, mate. But this is the point I'm making. When you've got no financial gain or someone doesn't have a hook on you, it's such a liberating feeling to just say, that's how I see it. I'm not saying I thought Joshua got well beat because I don't like Anthony Joshua, because I'm a hater, because I'm jealous of Anthony Joshua, because he's got a 6-pack and he's worth 300 million.
He's got a 6-pack, kid.
I've got nothing now, mate. Good luck to AJ. Good luck to you, mate. You've been fantastic from where you've come from. I just don't believe. I mean, Eddie said if he won last night, he would have been one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. So had Steve Gray put in his traditional matchroom scorecard, we'd have had an AJ win, albeit a very controversial one, and then we'd have had apparently one of the... All I'm saying is he's not one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Is He's done phenomenally well for a late starter. Brilliantly, absolute bloody gold. You know, I don't go upstairs and see a gold medal in my bedroom, mate. And he's done brilliant, but it's all about, and this is where Eddie Earn is correct, actually, whether it's a speech or words or whatever, it's about being happy, isn't it? Right? You and I talk about this. Whether we talk about offline, it's completely different to what we discuss on this show. It's all about man in the mirror moment, liking what you see, and being happy.
Yeah.
Now, what Anthony Joshua needs to do, and this is really important for AJ, he needs to just take some pressure off himself. He needs to sit down and he needs to say, do you know what? I gave my best and move forward. You need to be happy with your life, mate, because AJ needs that happiness and that fulfillment, because in 5 years, 10 years, all these people who's around him won't be around him. He'll see them for what they are. I always think back to that Buster Douglas when he got that record purse against Holyfield. At the time, he got 23 million. And he actually took 3 million from that 23 million because there were that many people and investors and people who have supported you. And they raped Buster Douglas of his money. And I'm not saying that'll happen with AJ. He's a massively wealthy man. What I'm saying is these people, if you were doing 4-rounders,
they won't be anywhere near you.
At the York Hall, and you were just, you know, struggling to sell tickets, they wouldn't touch you, mate. They wouldn't touch you. You pay well. And because you pay well, and these guys are just happy to just go along with it, nobody's telling you the truth, mate. And I think it's quite sad that these guys, as coaches who have come up they've come up through the amateur ranks, and some of these guys have been pros, and I think it's quite sad that they're actually afraid to tell a boxer the truth, and they're just a set of mercenaries out there, and it's for hire really. And I'm going on a little bit. I just find it personally, I find it quite sad, and that's why I can count my mates on my thumbs, and my social circle's tiny, and that's by choice, mate.
Do you feel that Joshua will be wheeled out again, or do you think they'll park him up for a bit?
Well, I hope. I mean, Eddie said he needs a rest. He hasn't boxed for 11 months, so that's an interesting one. When Harry Greb fought 43 times in 1 year, but
then they said they're going to get him out in November, didn't they? December.
Yeah, I hope they do with Joshua what I thought they should have done. I hope the 3 or 4 fights now, international fights, not headlining 20,000 seat arenas. Put him on, do what you've just said. Let him build his confidence and let him come back. I mean, Tyson Fury came back, didn't he, after his couple of years out of the ring? He wasn't fighting like, you know, top fighters or world-class fighters.
Tools weren't sharp, were they?
Well, he was sharpening his tools. I know he had a lot of weight to lose and it was slightly different, and Joshua was always in shape, but just, if I was AJ, just do what Amir Khan did when he went off to Freddie Roach at Wildcard, and he got paggered by Manny Pacquiao week in, week out sparring. He had a humbling experience, didn't he, when Breeders' Prescott ironed him out. And I know it's slightly different for Joshua because he's been in the 12-rounder, but I'd like him to just strip your team back to just 1 or 2 people. Okay, forget all this conditioning stuff at the Institute of Sport or wherever you've been doing it now down south, Loughborough, wherever. Forget all this stuff. Strip it right back. And if you want to work with Robert Garcia and you think there is a connection, get yourself over to Garcia's gym and have some 10-rounders. Just have some. One thing we need to do as well is if I am saying this, if Joshua's out often, then let's not hammer him if he's fighting guys outside the top 20. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be building his confidence back up, get him active, and then let's see where we go. That's what I'd do.
I think what he'll do, if it were me, look, if I was saying, say for instance, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say I'm his advisor and I'm not, because I don't like him. I know what he is.
Yeah.
But let's look at it. He's just a boxer. He's had all this has happened in his life. I'd said to him, right, what do you need a trainer from California coming over here for? Because he's not going to be settled over here. You don't want to go over there, blah, blah, blah. You burnt bridges up at EIS. I don't think McCracken will take him back now. He's too proud. But then again, there's holes in boxing, isn't there? People do strange things for money. So McCracken obviously kept his mouth shut for long enough. when it looked like it were crumbling, but we're still hanging in there for them few fights, wasn't it? When other people were being brought in. I think I've made a mess of this now. Everybody around me is to blame. This is what I'd be saying to you. Everybody around you is to blame, but you're the one that employs them. So you need to look at yourself. Get rid of all them gassing you up, like all them that would. You seen what happened on a smaller scale with Dave Allen. Now his 15 minutes is up now, isn't it? Where are all these people hanging around? They filter around, don't they? You get a few hanging around, but not as many. Joshua needs to get rid of all hangers on, gassing him up, and maybe either go get a new trainer, start afresh, or go back to where it all started. And it all started for him at Finchley, didn't it? And that's why you've got that. What's he called? Is Sean, the guy, is it, who trained him?
Yes, the ex-pro. Yeah. And obviously all the people down there want Spencer Oliver. He's associated with that gym and all that. And in Black Finchley, is it? Blah, blah. They'll find a role for him because he's been buttering him up for the last 2 weeks, and Spencer Oliver. Oh, yeah. There's always an angle around these people. So watch it unfold. And then you can say, Big P, you was right. And when it does happen, well, what I'll do, I'll just run around everywhere around here. I'll go down to the cafe or to a snooker place. I'll run in there and I'll just tell everybody, I told you all, didn't I? Go, but they can't do it though, mate.
Porky,
AJ won't do it.
You was right, Porky.
He won't do it because his ego's massive.
Well, why not go back to the beginning where it started and say, what have I done wrong here? And you know what I'd say to him if I were a trainer looking up from outside, looking at, look, you're not Pernell Whitaker. You're not going to be able to move like him. So don't stop trying to be him. What got you here? Well, you're a bit of a tough kid. He's got a good straight 1-2 on he, and he's fit and he's an athlete. Looks the part.
Looks fantastic.
Got no money worries whatsoever, so he can do anything he wants. He probably don't even need boxing. If he wants to be in boxing and his pride's there, go back to the beginning and then make best of what you've got. Don't try and be something you're not. Like, you remember when Carl Froch fought Ward? He tried to be like Ward, didn't he, for 6-7 rounds, didn't he? By that stage.
Tried to use that, didn't he?
Well, whatever they were telling him in corner, he didn't listen after round 7 because he in his head, he knew he weren't getting to him, so he reverted back, didn't he? And you know what? I know people give me stick for this, but you need to watch them last 3 rounds. He fucking hunted him down, didn't he? But it was too late, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how.
Not too late because he's a lot younger than Carl when it went then, isn't he? So let's see if Joshua go back to the beginning and start again with that kid who he respects, who he says he respects, and he's got Keith at gym and that, hasn't he, and all that.
We'll get behind him, won't we? We'll all get behind him if he just takes this kind of this ego off him.
But if he starts with all this shit is coming out, we like carrying off, pretending that I'm taking it back to the streets. I'm from their cloth, Larry Hoover, Big Meech, and all that. If he wants to be Big Meech, go buy a kilo of heroin and crack, chop it up and go serve it up. Because that's what Big Meech does. Go do that and then go try and sleep at night. Because I've been there, mate, doing that. Go to bed at night and try and sleep. You don't know who's going to wake up in your bedroom. It might be some bitch, it might be somebody with a gun in your mouth, or it might be old Bill. You don't want to do that. So stop coming out with shit like that when you've got blue chip sponsors. Don't be saying you're Larry Hoover, Nicky Barnes, Big Meat. Go back to being Mr. Humble, or just be Anthony. Just be your son. If you've got a chip on your shoulder, be that guy. Don't be something you're not. I've been reading off a script for far too long. And when they were overdoing it with them trending stories about Black Lives Matter, I lost all respect for him after that. I couldn't respect him after that. And then they tried to put it right with that Google thing, didn't they? And, well, what is this? You're not Ali.
I was a fan, mate, and this is the problem, is I was a real Joshua fan because I watched all his early fights. And I know it was Eddie behind it, and I said this to you before, but when they went for that belt grab against Charles Martin, I was like, no. This is the wrong way to develop a fighter. You're just trying to grab Eddie. You're trying to grab any part of the heavyweight picture that you can. And I didn't think he was ready. Not ready for Charles Martin. I mean, bloody hell. As I said before, once you beat, you're there, aren't you? Yeah. And then you get those things called mandatories, don't you? You know, the unifications don't often happen at heavyweight. You get those things called mandatories. And I know it took some years, and it just wasn't ready for like the Ruiz first fight, and Usyk. He was just wasn't ready. Maybe he'd never been ready, but I'm the same as you. It's not going to happen. Go back to humble beginnings. Maybe we've still, in our minds, got Rocky 3, you know, when Apollo took him to those gyms, those shit pot sawdust gyms. I don't know. Maybe it was romanticizing a little bit. But ultimately, why do you need, when you're in a gym and you're doing your strength work and you're throwing a medicine ball against the wall, why do you need 5 people there? When you're on a, you know, I hate this when they use those spin machines. Get out on the road, run in the rain, but they're on those spin machines and they've got the heart monitors on and they've got 5 people around them filming them with iPhones and tagging each other nonstop. Why do you need that? And this is the problem, is they're feeding him all the time. But the one time that they can't feed him is when that bell rings and he's in there. And it just...
Do you think that's why he's always looking for an helping corner? Like he needs a lot of voices there.
He's used to seeing all these people around him all the time and telling him that he's amazing, telling him he's wonderful and telling him he's fantastic. I mean, you even saw a glimpse of that, didn't you? I saw the video of Spencer Oliver going up to him afterwards saying, you are outboxing the pound. And he's like, he wasn't. Stop telling him the stuff that you think he wants to hear.
Outboxing, he were on back foot.
What's that line, Russell? What's that line? Your friends will tell you what you want to hear. Your good friends, your true friends will tell you what you don't want to hear.
But your employees won't.
Yeah. And you know what? Listen, we said it, didn't we? Yeah. And it's not vindication, right? People can say what they want. We said this was a badly advised rematch.
Yeah.
It was badly advised. It was a wrong career move. Forget the whatever he got paid. It's irrelevant. It's a wrong career move. Now there's no rematch clause. You're out in the cold. It's as simple as that. So it was a wrong career move was to take this rematch. He should have done I'm repeating this again. Go back to basics and do the 10 rounders that Eddie's saying that you're now going to do. Well, now you've got 3 losses on your record. It's not the end of the world, okay? But, and this is Johnny Nelson's point, it's the end of your world if you've got such a delicate psyche and you are such a competitive person that you are only interested in being number one. Then it might not be the end of somebody else's world. It wasn't the end of Anthony Crowler's world when he got beat. But it could be the end of Anthony Joshua's world in his mind because of how he's been built up, because of the people around him, and because he's been inflated to be something that he's clearly not. He's a very good fighter. He's one of the top 5 heavyweights in the world, but he's way short of being the number 1 heavyweight in the world, and he always has been.
Where would you put him in rankings now? You put Fury, Usyk, Wilder, Ergovic now. Would you put Joshua 4th? Would you put above Joshua?
Well, I definitely have Fury as number 1. I refuse to not rank Fury because he's retired. He's still got the WBC belt. I have Fury as number 1, Usyk as a number 2. I think you've got a little bit of clear water between the two of them. I want to see how Wilder comes back. If Wilder comes back, despite the lack of skills, that power's got to put him right up there. I think Joyce is an interesting one. Hrgovic was a disappointing performance, but then again, I can't complain and say Hrgovic was terrible. He was in a hard 50-50 fight, and I've just been saying that's what Joshua should have had all his career. So that will only prove to be a learning experience for Hrgovic, and what it'll do is it'll tell him where he's at. You're either doing things right, you're doing things wrong, or this is where you need to be. So he's probably up there at some point. I've never been massive on Dillian White, as you know. Dubois, I don't know. I'd probably put AJ's in the top 5, but I think the problem that we've got is there's a big gap between AJ and number 2, which is Usyk, and there's a massive gap between Joshua and Tyson Fury. And I genuinely believe if Tyson Fury, and I've said this before, and people think
sparring match, wasn't it?
I think if someone said to Tyson Fury, you can only use your left hand, I genuinely believe he would beat Joshua one hand.
He would do it with just one hand.
Genuinely.
Just to rub his nose in it.
Yeah, it would ping him with the left hand from an orthodox stance non-stop. He'd switch southpaw and he'd turn it into his power hand. I genuinely believe Tyson Fury could beat Anthony Joshua with one hand. And people might think that's ridiculous. That's fine, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Tyson just doing it with one hand to say, look, I told you he's a big dosser and he's got me another 100 million and there's nobody to beat.
There's no threat for Tyson Fury in that fight. I think Tyson Fury
Would he even train for it?
He wouldn't need to be at his absolute best, and that's not being disrespectful. It's about he's forgotten more than Anthony Joshua can ever learn about boxing, as it was said last night. And that's what AJ was almost saying.
Well, I heard last night, I was speaking to somebody and he said, look, Tyson, when he was 19, before he turned over with Hennessy, he said he'd beat Joshua. That 19-year-old Tyson would have beat the Joshua now. So the
too much skill. Even then, too much skill, too much ring craft, and way too much heart. Because whatever you say about Tyson Fury, the man never knows when he's beat. It just doesn't. We can say what we want about him. You got to nail him to the floor.
Well, he's a liar.
Well,
the Tom Pepper of boxing.
It changes.
He likes to wind everybody up, doesn't he, on social media?
I think he does it on purpose. I thought his little minute video that he did this morning, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was like...
Oh, that video where he's going on about people, there's no loyalty and all that. Well, what about you and Mick Hennessy? We'll leave it at that one, won't we? Don't talk to me about loyalty, Tyson. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, especially if they've got loads of greenhouses in gardens, should they?
Yeah, no, but he's immensely watchable, isn't he?
He sure is. Let's just go through a little bit of the show. We saw Ramla Ali at the beginning. She looks Italian,
yeah. That's how he throw right. That's how he throw right hand. That's how he set a right hand.
Watch it. So gentle at end and that, but a little monster inside, wasn't she?
She's lovely, isn't she? And she's a lot better than I thought.
Looks like she's got a good future.
I saw her debut and I thought, oh, she might be a bit of a novelty, this woman. No, she's great. What I loved about her from a coaching point of view, she threw that 1-2 perfect straight down the middle. And as soon as she threw that right hand and her opponent started to go down, she whipped her left hook in underneath. But it was absolute textbook how she threw it. So what a quality combination from the fighter. Brilliant.
Yeah. The other fights, the Badel Jack one and that Popeye one, we spoke about that. What did you think to Callum Smith's performance? Because I'll tell you my opinion first for your system, because I don't want people saying we're agreeing. Right. Personally, I think he's seen better days, right? He was built up as a roadman that we're going to go Superman or light heavy, cruiser heavy. Am I right? Eddie Earn's words. He's going to be built out at 4 different belts. Well, I think he's going to be Euro level light heavyweight. I don't think he's got it to go all the way at that weight. It's a dangerous weight, that, you know, with some dangerous cats in it.
Yeah.
So
my view, it's a red hot division. The two things what I'm going to take from the Callum Smith fight is what I actually have taken from loads of Callum Smith fights or Smith fights. You know, the Smith brothers are so tight, and I love that. They're always there to back each other up. Now, that might sound obvious for brothers. A lot of brothers fall out. They're not as tight as that. So, first of all, credit to the Smith brothers. I don't know if they get enough credit or not, but what a fantastic family and a fantastic set of achievements from those guys. So that for me is always a heartwarming thing. Also, from a personal point of view, the Smiths have a young sister who's autistic, and as you know, my son's autistic, and I love how they support autism. They always wear autism on the trunks. So that's a lovely thing for me to watch from a personal point of view. The second thing, all right, I'm not going to go into the details of who I think Smith had beaten, who he wouldn't do. Callum Smith knows how to throw a left hook. His left hook is an absolute thing of beauty. I've seen him throw that on a big bag at Gloves Gym when I've been over with fighters to spar, Stephen Smith and Scott Quigg and guys like that. He knows how to throw a left hook. He knows how to throw a right hand, but I just love how he turns that shot over. So for me,
got him out of trouble that a few times, hasn't it? It's that catch and counter, isn't it? Catch and counter.
Catch and counter for such a tall, rangy fighter.
How does that work, Julian? Catch and counter?
Yeah, it's a timing thing. So you can either do it against, if you're fighting a guy who's orthodox, okay, because there's a pullback left hook where you can lean away from a left hook and throw a rangy left hook. There's a even shorter hook where you step in and you throw the left hook. But what that one requires, and against the southpaw, it's such a hard thing to do, is it's effectively as soon as you block, you pull. And the trick of throwing that left hook is the timing of the shot. So, for example, last night, he blocked the right hook and it was purely a rotational forward movement only. So it's a block and it's a pull. And that is an art. You have to practice that. I've seen him doing that with Joe Gallagher. I've seen all Gallagher's fights do the catch counter.
Is that a pet punch for Joe Gallagher?
That's a Gallagher trademark.
Crawler did it, didn't he? A lot, didn't he? Crawler.
That's an absolute Gallagher trademark, because I've seen, not only have I seen Joe, I don't want to give you away secrets, by the way, but I remember coming over for some sparring with some of my lads years ago.
Gary Sykes.
Well, I'm not allowed to mention him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gary Sykes, bingo, that's one. And I've seen him doing it. I've seen Joe watching the films, and he used to watch Wilfred Gomez and Sanchez and stuff like that.
Joe and Wilfred Gomez. He's into all them.
I don't want to give away secrets, Joe, but Gomez knows how to counter with the left hook, doesn't he? And I've watched Joe doing that on the pads, and I've seen various things, and it's a thing that all the Joe Gallagher fighters do the catch counter, but none of them do it as well as Callum Smith.
Callum Johnson, I think, does it.
It's a difficult thing to do, because when you throw it, when a right hand comes at you from an orthodox point of view, that's a hard one to get right, because the range is different. But when a southpaw does it and the front feet are touching the left foot, the right foot, it's the timing of it. And I just watched it last night, and he did it with George Groves, and obviously Groves is orthodox, but I watched him do it against a southpaw, and I thought,
you were in trouble in that fight, Groves fight, when he did that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was beautiful, and it was just such a perfect thing to watch. I've seen Josh Taylor do it from a southpaw position against O'Hara Davis, the catch and the counter.
Yeah.
And it's such a difficult move to get off. And it's the timing's got to be absolutely perfect. I know I keep talking about it, but I watched that as a coach. So for me, it's less what Callum Smith's going to do. Is he the fighter he was? It was, for me, the coaching point was, any young boxers out there want to know how to throw left hook, watch Callum Smith. Any young boxers want to know how to do a catch and counter, well, either watch Callum Smith or go to Joe Gallagher. But that is just like such a great punch. I loved watching it.
It's a bit like McCracken, isn't it? He would be on uppercuts. The uppercut, man. Yeah. That was Proctor's pet punch when he spoke about it yesterday, didn't he? His uppercut. Because he gets you out of trouble, uppercut, doesn't it?
It's like Manny Stewart, wasn't he? Manny Stewart was really big on the straight shots, but particularly it was big on that right hand. All Manny Stewart's fighters had big right hands, from Tommy Hearns to
Lennox Lewis,
Jimmy Moore, Hill McKenty, Mickey Goodwin, all the early guys over to the Lennox Lewis's, and obviously the Vladimir Klitschko.
Dwayne Taylor, he had him, didn't he? To make that Taylor as well, didn't he?
Exactly. They didn't only have just such a great right hand, they understood how to set that right hand up. So fighters have different hallmarks. It's a bit like the Ingle fighters, Brendan Ingles in the early days. They all had that screw shot. The switch stance. Ryan Rhodes would do it. Naz was the master. They'd have that backhand screw shot and the front hand screw shot from a southpaw stance. So you do see different coaches having different kind of methods. And I think that's not all that Joe does. Joe does so many things well. But that's the thing. It's a bit like Peter Fury. We talked about Peter Fury earlier. Peter Fury has those languid fighters who are quite loose and long-limbed, and he understands how to get his fighters to whip shots in from range or from just outside of range. All fighters have the elements of them that's stamped on them by coaches, and that's why it's such an interesting choice. And I'll go offline because we're nearly done now, but. That's why I thought it was quite interesting that Ben Whittaker has gone to Sugar Hill. It's not about having the best coach. It's about having a coach who's going to bring out the things in your attributes that's needed. And that's probably why I think Garcia was not the right coach for AJ going back to that fight.
All right. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I know you're off for some dinner now, aren't you? Your family.
My son's coming. A few bits and bobs to do, and it'll be just a mad day from now on. And thanks for having me on as well, Russell.
No problem.
Really enjoyed the fight, enjoyed the show.
Have a great day.
And I look forward to watching all your videos this week, mate.
Take care. Love you, mate. Cheers, pal. All the best.
Pal.
Kelsey, my best.
Will do, mate.
Right. Oh, 1 second to go. Peace out.